Hi, everybody. The turbaned Erica from In the Company of
The
Cards.
turbaned Erica and the dinosaur, tech dinosaur Lena. I can't remove Amber's lesson 2 from my new StreamYard account, and I have to ring a friend tonight
Right.
because everything I do. Yeah. So apologies, Amber, if you're watching. We have
Right.
spoken.
So you're tech challenged, and I am razor challenged, but we will muddle through anyway. Episode 15. Welcome, everybody. I see you've got a bunch of people here, and
And
also
welcome to the regulars. Hi, Aaron.
welcome to the regulars. Welcome also to those of you who watch this in replay. We don't want you to think that we have forgotten you. So another week. Let's just see who we've got. Okay, this is good. All right. Oh, Aaron the hairstylist. Aaron the hairstylist. You do not want to see this hair on my head because
no.
I've talked about it twice. I don't want to talk about it again. You will know that I am out of the wilderness when one day I come on and I'm not wearing my head covered up, but that will be a minute. So
yeah,
a couple of weeks. Yeah. Okay. So what are we talking about today?
Oh, where do we start? I've got my outrage meter on.
Good.
And it's going into overdrive.
Okay.
With everything that's happening. And well, let's open with Trump's, he's committed to sabotaging J.D. Vance, which would be amusing if the security of the world wasn't at stake.
Right. So I thought it was very well, you don't know how much of it is sabotage and how much is just clear ineptitude. Now, why do I say that? Because the felon said in real time, he said, so J.D. Vance is about to get off the plane and head up the negotiation team in Islamabad. And as he's saying that, the motorcade pulls up to the White House, and who is in the car? J.D. Vance. So he was not about to get off the plane in Islamabad. I'm not sure whether it's just miscommunication, which is certainly possible, or whether he's being sabotaged. I do know that the felon does not want any Republican to replace him. He thinks he's irreplaceable, of course.
Yes, that's the megalomaniac dream. Right. So anyone who comes close to him cannot share the spotlight.
Right.
They then become the target.
Right.
And next week it'll be Marco Rubio. Right. So busy with both of them. But to the actual negotiations, Iran has said quite clearly, we are not negotiating with you. Firstly, because of the blockade. Secondly, because on other occasions where we met with you, you ambushed and killed our representatives for the talks. So, and Israel is still bombing Lebanon.
Right.
We are not going to talk in that way. So Israel, you'll notice, isn't participating in any of these. And so there's no one to talk to except the very polite Pakistani officials and probably some second and third tier representatives of the thing. But there are no real talks going on.
Plus, the people on our side are, the son-in-law, Kushner, and the golf guy, Wickham. So, I think that the Iranians were really angry at what the felon said. I'm the greatest negotiator. They gave me whatever I said I wanted, and he always has to run to a microphone. And I think this is part of the problem. He's out of control. You heard that the head of Joint Chief, Kane, General Kane. Apparently, he stopped him from using the nuclear codes. So he is out of control.
Absolutely. Sorry about the barking. If you can hear it, people are arriving. It'll settle in a minute.
Right, it's a dog, and they don't understand.
La 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 la.
So
Too many grand dogs. It's a 3 grand dog day. Now, the problem is that there's no such thing as a press conference anymore. There's all this, pantomime that goes on where he stands on the windy steps of Air Force One and goes, "Where are you from?" And that's a failed organization. And so there hasn't been a real press conference for this entire presidency.
Right.
No one's asked him anything.
Right.
And so the states and the world are ruled by tweet. This is not happening in any other country.
No, I know. It's bad. It's bad. So there is no end in sight to this debacle. In the end, what will happen is Iran, it's not a terrific government. They killed a whole bunch of their people a few months ago. They're not a good regime, but they will have bested us, and we will come away. Trump will say we won. We will not have won, but that'll be the story.
Yes. And morale in the armed services must be rock bottom. There's a lot of reports on this.
Have you seen the food trays?
Yes.
These are grown adult people with jobs that require strength and a mental alertness.
And the supplies aren't getting through.
A gray piece of meat and a tortilla. That was it.
It's
and the
shocking.
Supplies aren't getting through. Right. So I don't know.
So I think we can look at the component parts, but it's also part of what we're talking about with this particular channel is where it fits into the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is we are seeing the United States like tumbling down a mountain.
That's right.
In terms of world respect has gone. That ship has already sailed. But just to run the country with such inadequates in charge, you can't actually keep going like this. Things start to fall off. Well, not just as a metaphor, but they actually stop working.
That's
not too far away.
That's exactly it. I think that we tend to say it's the felon, the felon, the felon, the felon, the felon. No, because all the dominoes have fallen.
Yes.
Now, the good news is, of course, we might want to mention this, that who else is falling away is MAGA. There will always be people in MAGA who consider him the God King. They will go to their own graves, even long after he's gone to his, proclaiming him the God King. Nevertheless, there are influencers who are saying, wait a minute, this is, important influencers like Candace Owens, like Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Alex Jones, people who have name recognition in that circle, who are saying the felon is crazy. The felon needs.
And I'm sorry, it's 9 years too late.
Well, that's the other thing. It's one thing to say he's crazy, but it's the apology tour. Mea culpa. We're so sorry. No, they're not. They're
not. What they're saying is, where can I position myself? He's obviously going to be locked away, drop dead, or be pushed out some way. So where do I sit in the new thing? That's all they are.
All it is. Especially Tucker Carlson. I think that he will challenge JD in 28 for the Republican nomination, because it's not automatic that JD is the nominee. They can. Other people can enter the field. And I think that Tucker Carlson says to himself, if I can just get ahead of this early enough, then what will happen is the MAGA people who are now disenfranchised and sorry for their vote and feeling guilty or feeling whatever, they will see themselves in me. And I will
MTG.
Right. Well, MTG, here's something good about her. So she said what we already knew, but okay, it's good that it's coming out of her mouth. She said, excuse me, can we get back to something that we seem to have dropped the ball on, which is the Butler, Pennsylvania unaliving attempt? Because she said, how come we haven't heard much about this Thomas Crooks, who is the shooter?
Yeah, I'd forgotten his name. Yeah.
How come the felon doesn't talk every 2 minutes about his amazing brush with death and how
And he never did after the day 2. He never mentioned it again.
Never mentioned it again. I think she said, I think it needs to be investigated. Why have there been no report, no nothing given to the public? What's that about? Well, we know what it's about. Of course, the whole thing was faked. The felon was in on it, allegedly, and it was like cinema verite / snuff film. Is that people had to die in order to make it look realistic. But the Secret Service would never have let him stand up and do the fist thing and whatever, all that drama.
I know. And compare it to before. Look at the coverage we all over the world sat through for 50 years about Lee Harvey Oswald and the grassy knoll and every angle that could have been done, and books have been written and films have been made and and about this, nada.
Nothing. Well, again, as I've said, they do 20th century dirt in a 21st century world. Do they not think that eventually people are going to say, especially when they feel betrayed by him, watch MAGA get behind her, because she's another one that will probably challenge for in 28, right?
But there's another issue with all of that, which is any one of 1,000 things or 10,000 things he's done or ordered would normally, exclude him from the presidency. The problem is, even if this is found to be a ruse, and we all know in our bones it was, it's too late. We're drowning in the next horrors.
That's
so
right.
This is the problem. It can't be repaired by conventional means, which is what you're saying, 20th century stuff in 21st century. Right. It can't be repaired. It wouldn't matter if you spend $18 million on an investigation to show that didn't happen. Then what? So there's no consequence for any of these people, which is what drives all of us totally insane, is the complete lack of consequence.
Well, you saying that we're tumbling down the mountain is a very apt metaphor, because we will never be able to climb our way up out of this again, because it's not just him, it's everyone else who has let this happen. Can I just add some people to the list? This could be unfair, and I know that our viewers will correct me if I need correction, and I am already humbled by my hair, so So, you all, how I've been saying, so this is great. We had the No Kings marches from 12 to 2 on a Saturday, and that's good. And what I remember saying here and on Substack is that, a lot of us who remember back in the day how demonstrations used to be done during the civil rights era, during Vietnam, it was no 12 to 2 on a Saturday. It was all day, every day, 24/7, 365.
And you did your bit in that. The whole thing was, these were rolling sit-ins, rolling demonstrations, momentum.
Right.
I can only do Tuesday a thing, but I'm going to be there Tuesday at 8. Someone else is going to be there Saturday morning at 9.
Right.
It's got to gather momentum.
Right. So because white America has no concept of a collective consciousness, which we have discussed before, people got annoyed. The organizers, I suspect, got annoyed at the critiques, and because we would say, that was great, that's a good first step. What's next? What's next? And they came up with something, and I thought, well, that's great. I mean, I get it. And what the argument was we needed to build a critical mass. We needed to get people excited. We needed to get people used to activism. So the next thing is going to be, you all have heard me say this before, the general strike on May 1st. Well, it occurs to me yesterday when I was writing my Substack, I'm like, wait a minute, May 1st? That's like 10 days away.
Yeah.
I don't remember hearing anything about that from any source anywhere at all. So I said in my Substack, what happened? Like, what happened? Someone either on YouTube or Substack said to me, oh, well, Indivisible, and they're the ones who've organized the other things, have decided that they're gonna call it's, I forget the name of it, but it's about people being warehoused in, what did you call it in those?
Well, it's detention, illegal detentions,
right,
in thrown up warehouses.
Right. Yeah. So that they're going to focus on that. Well, so at first I thought, oh, okay. But then I thought, well, wait a minute. I haven't heard about that protest either. So I think, here's what I think. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope somebody disabuses me of my theory. I think that the Tea Party concept, the Garden Party 12 to 2 thing, was about the beginning and end of the planning. Period. Full stop. I don't think they thought beyond that at all. And I think they came up with the May 1st thing to placate people so that we would think that there was some sort of use for this momentum, that they would capitalize on it. And then they just dropped the ball. This makes the case that I always make, and people hate when I say it, but I'm going to say it. As Americans, we are soft. We are fragile. We are lazy. How many people would come in my comments and say, well, I can't go. I have to do this, that, or the other. My family's coming over. I have to cook. I have to. We're very good at coming up with lists of reasons for why we can't be activists. And so I think that these indivisible people realized that maybe they wouldn't have the same outpouring in the same numbers in a general strike as they've had in the No Kings, and they just let it go. But it didn't even bother to make an announcement.
Yeah.
Nowhere. Have you seen anything? Because I haven't seen anything.
The thing with May 1st, which is May Day, it's the International Workers' Day.
Yep.
It might accidentally work because it requires people to do nothing. That's your job.
That's
to be part of this, perversely, but you can't count a negative.
No.
So that's I still hope. 87 million people.
Here I am, browbeating everybody. Don't give me an excuse for why you can't participate. Nobody's asking you, like you just said, just stay home. That's all you have to do.
Right.
Don't go to work, don't go to school.
Just be,
don't buy anything.
Too hard. So I'm hoping that'll happen, but I don't see how. You still need people in the streets because you need the footage of people in the streets in Belgrade, in Johannesburg, in Paris, and in Pittsburgh to make the point.
Okay, so Marcia says people do what they can, and I don't think shaming people into going is not going to work. Well, they don't have to go anywhere. What they have to do is stay home, number one. Number two, people do what they can. I think my point is people don't do what they can. That's the whole point.
There's a point.
That's the point.
And also here, as Barbara says, Minneapolis had it right. They protested every day, up to their knees in snow.
Yes.
Right. These are people who also had jobs, also had to get kids to school, also they organized themselves into protective phalanxes to get the immigrant kids to school safely and pick them up and do day after day after day.
And if nothing
Momentum
else,
is everything.
If nothing else, it would have been a message to our politicians that we're fed up. And it might have lit a fire under them. But if we want to spend our energy and our time saying things like, well, people don't, you can't shame people into, this is what I mean about fragility. This is what I mean about fragility. Then you know what happens? We get what we get. And if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. This is why we are in the situation that we're in. I posit that I don't care what anybody says to me. When people say, I voted for him because of the price of eggs. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. So that's the first thing. Maybe before we have a general strike, we can all take a trip to the bathroom and look in the mirror. Those of us who voted that way, and say, no, why did I really vote that way? What did I think was going to happen to some people that I was good with, but that would never happen to me? And am I upset now because it happened to me too? Because we have to look in the mirror. America is not good at that.
And let's just take a moment here too. We know you guys are the angels who are committed and have a heart and really want to see change. Right. So please don't feel, even though I'm sure it sounds like it from both of us at times, whack. It's not that. Hopefully the conversation leads to ideas where you can challenge other people in your families and neighborhood and stuff about these points of resistance and the blind spots, because just where you were going there, the problem with American exceptionalism is exactly that. If you're convinced everything's right and should not be questioned, then you don't look at Italy and think, well, how do they do their health service? Or, you don't look at Norway and go, how come they've got a sovereign wealth fund for the people that is growing every year? Well, looking at other ideas, strategies, and places. And the problem is also not easy because it's really 50 little countries.
Right.
But I think here's the upside. I think that more and more Americans are beginning to recognize their story in other people's stories. So there's beginning to be an overlap there wasn't a year ago. People are noticing stuff they didn't notice a year ago.
If we were the police, you'd be the good cop.
Yeah, you see. Yeah, but it's absolutely true. And you need both those. But I guess the energy that's required now, apart from anything else, people are exhausted. And excuse me, but I think there's an energy shift. Let's talk bigger cosmic picture for a minute.
Yeah, because we can rest when we're dead.
Rest when we're dead, as my dad used to say. Yeah. And I think there's more energy now than there was even 6 months ago. And so to trust the collective, trust that the collective can actually hold you up and help you move along and have momentum. And then when you're having a good day, you can prop someone else up who's having a bad day and keep that momentum going.
You know what? Yes, but I come back to this lack of, you talk about the collective, which I think a lot of countries in the world absolutely have and
America doesn't, and prides itself on not having it.
Yes, that's the problem. Prides itself on not having it. That's literally the problem. Again, I think this is some of the divide in this country between Black people and white people. Black people are not monolithic. You can find Black people with all different kinds of opinions about all kinds of things. However, we all tend to have this collective memory, this collective consciousness, such that, the 4% knew which way to vote. The 94% knew, okay, it's time to drink our water and mind our business. There was no memo. There was no meeting. There was no Facebook post. We had a collective memory. But that's Black people. Writ large as a country, we're like collecting, what is that? Like, we don't understand.
I'm going to pay for someone else getting something? Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to. I mean, somebody mentioned here, well, they didn't think it was fragility. They thought it was being tired. Well, I mean, we're all tired, right? I mean, that's we have been tired for 10 years or more. I mean, this man has made us tired for a year. The thing is, if we sit down and in a fragile way give in to how tired we are, we could kiss it goodbye.
Yeah.
That's not what the world does in response to what? Oppression, violence, evil, racism. I mean,
well, just yesterday in Ireland, the farmers who are upset about not being able to get diesel and fertilizer and subsidies, et cetera, drove their big trucks and tractors right into O'Connell Street in Dublin, which is like Pennsylvania Avenue. Right there. Now, and the Garda, as the police are called, had to pull out all the stops, the horses, the helicopters and everything to get the streets open again. But the Irish people, whose side were they on? And it wasn't the police. So other farmers and farmers in America, I mean, they're dealing with tariffs, they're dealing with oil, they're dealing with things. Now, there has to be, let's say, 8 farmers who didn't vote for Trump, but that's probably about it.
Right.
And they're going down. And they're going down. And do you think the billionaires care? No, because they're going to buy up their farms for agribusiness.
Right.
So unless the farmers get out blocking highways and drawing people's attention to it, they're just going to sink without trace. And that's another thing I think we all should think about carefully, is there's going to be water and food issues going forward. Food, because so much of the world's fertilizer goes through. We now know all about what goes through the Strait of Hormuz.
Yes, exactly.
Or the Strait of Vermouth, as some people are calling it.
But that's true. That's true.
Okay, so this has an effect for the whole next 12 months, even if it's stopped tomorrow.
That's right.
In food insecure countries, but also first world countries.
Right.
Why? And that's because we depend on mined phosphates and all that stuff for the fuel, instead of everywhere using their own biodegradables to create, large scale compost and charcoal burning for improving the soil.
If we had taken this in hand years ago, we would not be dependent on oil.
Exactly. So we tend to forget with the political thing, and I have to remind myself as well. This is also about climate change and the importance of these big energy issues for the next 5 to 10 years for planet Earth.
Exactly.
And we're going to be forced to look at them.
Right. So, everybody doesn't have to be in the street. If your interest is in the environment, find groups that you can be involved in that deal with the environment. Weed your garden, put it in a bucket, cover it with water for 2 weeks, water your plants with it. Well, there you go. That's, there is so much that we can do. And if we stop spending so much time coming up with reasons why we can't.
Yes.
We would
you go, okay, well, I'm working 60 hours a week, so I don't have a lot of time and energy, but I can be on a email tree for somewhere, to send messages out about the next thing. There's always something.
Well, and I think another Americanism, I don't see this as so much the other rest of the world. We're always looking for someone who will emerge from the crowd and save the day. That's how
Right.
Trump got elected, by the way.
Yes. And speaking of Trump, in the comments here, there should be someone outside Trump Tower, protesting every day.
Exactly.
I was in New York. The one time he went to trial, I actually went to New York to be part of that moment in history where he had to turn up every day and sit there and slide off his chair and go to sleep and all that.
Oh, I remember when you went there and you weren't sure whether you were going to get close enough.
Well, yes, I can't go to the United States again.
Yeah.
That door was closed because of my YouTube history. So I went, there were maybe 4 people. Now, I'm sorry, New York, maybe post Mondani, New York would have had different energy. But at the time, I went 2 days in a row, 4 people, maybe 6. Now, there could have been at least, you can't tell me there couldn't have been 50 New Yorkers. I'm not asking for everyone to drop tools and be there. On rotation, I can do Wednesday, can't do Thursday. Just in the lunch break, just when he arrived, 50 people shouting, lock him up, like he did to Hillary. Another hour, lunchtime, you can eat your sandwich, be there. I was so disappointed.
People get siloed in their own lives, and I don't know, just expect the sky's not going to fall down, but it's falling. The sky is falling.
Oh, good. This is someone saying, I've started a series on her channel of fermenting vegetables and fruit and probiotic sodas and things. No, it's great.
Excellent. That's great. Got my tomato plants in the ground. Yeah, that's good.
And when you, I live in a very, 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 very mixed neighborhood. And the first wave of immigrants post-war were the Greeks and Italians, who all planted olive trees as soon as they got there. So they're now 70 years old.
Yeah.
So in my suburb, every year when the olives come out, you in the public are free to pick olives. If it's a participating household, they just have a sign on the door. Yeah, whatever.
That's so cool.
So, which is great with the little kids too,
Sure,
and
absolutely.
you take them there. Then you go to the community garden and you take your olives, and then you come back in a week's time with your bottles and you have your compressed olive oil that you take home.
That's great.
And there's volunteers doing that, and you get a bottle of pure olive oil this big.
That's great. I love that. There's a lot of people talking about, plants and the earth and all of that, which is terrific.
Yes. And there's another comment here from L. Crisp. Call the reps every day. They hate it.
That's
Good
right.
point. Just do it. And I recommend a bit of theatre too. Ring the Republican ones and say, I've been a Republican all my life and I'm just shocked.
That's right.
I'm horrified because they don't care if you're Dems. Can't tell them.
Absolutely. I mean, I know we all want to know, when is this going to be over? It'll be over when we decide that it should be over.
Yeah, when people say they've had enough and mean it. And
talk is cheap. The universe has to see action. If the universe's language is vibrational, yes, words are vibration, but it needs to be a little more vibrational than that for things to change. It's not gonna, we're not gonna wake up one day and boom, that's it. So.
Yeah, and be part of the change you want to see, because I think we are also ground down because it's been horrendous, but so ground down that to take time each day and then to lengthen that time, might start off as 10 seconds, lengthen it to a minute, of what would you like to see happen?
Right.
Not in the negative, even though that's tempting.
Right.
R.I.P. Donald. No, the positive in the sense, I'd like to see a really creative way to fund good education in backwater states, because I'm a blue dot in a red sea or something.
Okay, now wait, somebody
Vision.
said something interesting. They said, I'm in Ohio, Dr. Lena, so that may work, but I'm probably on caller ID. So this is a thing. People are like, well, they're going to know that it was me. Then they're going to knock on my door with the masks. And then next thing you know, I'll be, sitting in South Sudan.
No, well, the Congo, which is their
Yeah,
preferred
the Congo, yeah,
destination.
right.
No,
Right.
I understand you have to look after yourselves at all time. But you could write a letter without an address and pop it in physically in the mailbox, or think around the caller ID issue. But also, I think this is the whole point. Every group of resistors all over the world, and nothing would have ever improved in the world if people weren't prepared to endure
Exactly.
and sacrifice.
And suffer, maybe. I mean, this is the part that I don't get. I mean, the unwillingness to run a risk. I mean, French resistance.
You think about Argentina, occupied by the military in the 70s, and the grandmothers
looking for their disappeared grandchildren. Yes.
Every week, knowing any of them were, and it could be arrested, tortured, killed, they still went. And eventually that guilt paid off,
But you see, again, Black people have the memory of the 60s and dogs and water hoses and batons and arrests and
it was
all of that. For white America, they're like, no, I'm not interested. I mean, nobody wants that.
No.
But it's kind of as though nobody has to put chains on you if you do it yourself.
Yes.
I'm going to just sit here and wait and see what happens. I'm not going to. Well, then they don't even need to lock you in your house, because you locked yourself in your house.
But you see, look at the result too. There's sort of because of the hardship, not only leading into the civil rights movement, but during the civil rights movement. And credit also to those who were Jewish and Anglo and everything else who went down and stood on the lines too, because their families would have thought they were crazy, etc., etc.
Right.
All those who did it. The point being, look at how high the vote is for Black people, particularly Black women, still compared with other groups.
Well, Black women in this country, they man the polling stations. You're full
and then get accused of dealing drugs.
Yeah.
Notoriously, they have been the ones turning up year in, year out, small elections, big elections.
Because we understand the value of it. Right.
90 million people, I think, was the statistic, who didn't vote in the 2024 election.
Right.
90 million people couldn't be asked actually voting. And I'm probably glad they didn't. I don't know. But it's not the point. It really is not the point. That is a failed democracy right there.
That's right.
Right? That is a failure of democracy to engage that number of people. That's systemic. That's not just a few lazy people who are drug affected and couldn't get out of bed. No. That's systemic failure.
Well, yes. And those who are in power observe that, and they understand it makes us ripe for the picking. I mean, I think back, speaking of Alex Jones, I think back to Sandy Hook. All of those little kids, those little first graders, mowed down, and we didn't outlaw guns?
Yes. Sandy Hook was a window. It was an absolute window. It rocked the world.
More than it rocked the U.S., apparently. Uvalde, if we needed a more modern example, Uvalde happened. It was the same thing.
children had to be identified by their shoes. Okay, and there's always an uprising of outrage when these things happen, but it doesn't translate into anything. And yet independent polling of Americans across all voting groups and stripes, 70% of Americans, by and large, approve of gun regulations.
Right.
That's probably a very high number for any issue in the US. Actually, people do that, but no one has had the cojones to follow that through. They just have to, the GOP just say, Dems want to take your guns. And that's the end of that conversation again.
Right. Well, I mean, the whole Second Amendment. I mean, you'll hear Democrats say things like, Democratic politicians, no, I'm not trying to take your guns. I'm just trying to say they should be regulated. First of all, last time I checked, we have a standing army. We don't. Why do people need guns? Why is the Second Amendment a thing? If they could get rid of Roe, they can get rid of that Second Amendment. I don't understand. It's because,
well, there you go. Aim for it, because it is so stupid. Because of course it's one of the two amendments that they remember. There's no other context. But also, and a few politicians talk about it every now and again, which is just getting rid of assault weapons and automatic and semi-automatic weapons. I mean, we've just but I'm optimistic long term. I think there is so many problems and the crisis is going to be so profound. Mm-hmm. Many big things that seemed intractable and unchangeable, or tautology, sorry about that, can change because so many other things will change.
No, I think that's true. I think, and the sad fact is, things have to be as bad as they are becoming in order for that to happen.
In order for people to recognize that these things they've let go actually eventually impact them. And for those of you like our audiences generally who already have identified the issues, it's important to have, especially important, like I was saying before, the vision. It's not just about coping and getting through and Trump dropping dead. There has to be a vision for America. Like FDR got pilloried and was attacked constantly for the idea of the New Deal, but he had the gravitas to push it through. And so 2028, I don't really want to see anyone I know up there. I'm beginning to think I want someone to appear soon who's fresh and energetic and...
Well, like Mamdani popped out of nowhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's fine at the debate level to have, Gavin Newsom and other ones at the debate level, go for it, have the conversation. But I want to see new. And it's the same here in Australia. Mm-hmm. Albo was, because we don't elect a prime minister, right? We elect a party, and the party elects who is going to be the leader before an election. So you know which leader you're getting, but they've done that process. There are good things about that, and there are not so good things about that, right? This is the thing. You've got to look at other ways, and it's not that anyone has the perfect way. But the advantage of that is you don't get these rogue sort of things. You more or less know what you're voting for, which is the policies of that party. Mm-hmm. But my point was, Albo, our current Prime Minister, he came through the old Labor system. I call them the old toe cutters. They're the old union hardheads. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm a union girl, but we all know top unions were corrupt along with everything else, but they had an important role to play. Right? Sorry, I digress there. The thing is, about 2028, we need new.
Well, it's very interesting to see people sort of poking their heads up. Kamala Harris so she's been asked, are you going to run? Well, I'm not sure. Yeah, she's taking her finger and holding it up in the wind to see but I think that ship has sailed. I think, to give the Trumpers the benefit of the doubt, which I don't want to do it, but I'm going to try. They will say, we wanted change. I think change is necessary. We all want change. Things happen.
And it has to be dramatically obvious and different. Whereas the Dems' position usually, the Conservatives always wreck the economy, not to this extent, but Dems always have to clean it up.
Right.
The Republicans are always thought to be the responsible with money, and Dems go this cycle, right, over and over. Dems cannot afford in 2028. November's a different story. Let's just get through November. But 2028, no more middle of the road thinking, oh, well, if people aren't sure, we don't want to scare them or anything. That your country needs radical change. Radical is not in and of itself bad.
Exactly. Absolutely. Well, they spent a lot of their autopsy, which we won't ever see, the Democrats, trying to decide, which is why they hired that guy, Ken Martin, as the head of the party. Nobody, sort of a milquetoast, like you wouldn't know him if you saw him on the street.
No.
Why would they do that? Because that's what they do.
That's what they do.
The party of no and slow, as Wes Moore said, and he's correct. Or they look at and they say, well, the problem was we focused on identity politics. First of all, that term is really offensive. I'm just going to say. Identity politics? So what? Issues that affect those of us who are in marginalized groups, but we are nevertheless no less American than anybody else. Why is it called identity politics, as though it's some little subset of a thing? And then, no, what we need to do is tack to the center, move to the center. That's what the Democratic Party does. We have an opportunity to be optimistic. We have this opportunity to do something really different. And we have a whole world full of countries that we can look to this for this and this for this and this for that in terms of modeling a system that makes sense, whether it's healthcare, whether it's education, whether it's banking, whatever it is. And I think Pluto and Aquarius dictates that everything will be up in the air. We all came here, we signed on, this is my metaphysical belief, we came here for the great dismantling. That's
because we've been through it before.
It's not fun. It is not fun. And my ego self says, what were you thinking buying a ticket to that show? Like, couldn't you have waited for the next thing? But no, we came here for this. And it's exciting because our children and our children's children have the opportunity to create a whole new country and to get it right, to make up for the screw ups of Lincoln saying, let them up easy to the South. Exactly. Or what's his name? George Washington with the cherry tree, and he's honest and all that, but he's got slaves' teeth in his mouth.
Yeah.
So we have an opportunity to look in the mirror, yes, physically, individually, one-on-one, but also as a nation. And we've never actually done it. It's always been that funhouse mirror that I always talk about.
Yes.
That funhouse mirror doesn't exist anymore. It's shattered. And a lot of us are now faced with a real mirror, and we're like, oh, give me the funhouse. I
know, because things are really wrong from before Trump. So America's life expectancy, United States citizens' life expectancy, is 49th in the world.
Right. That's shameful. Shameful.
And the literacy stats are horrifying, and it doesn't matter where you go. And that's because of inadequate healthcare and everything else. But people don't know.
That dumbs people down on purpose. That's why you have people voting the way that they vote, because they're not even,
it works a treat.
no critical thinking skills.
No critical thinking. And so it can be done and done better and differently. So that's what I keep coming back to. Have this vision of social justice and redistribution. I'm not a hardcore communist saying everyone has to have the same income, nothing to do with that. But social democracy, where there isn't this obscene gap.
Right. I mean,
and I think every CEO should have to spend a full working day on their own factory floor, whatever that is.
You know what? If they were taxed right, everybody could have a guaranteed basic income.
Hello. And Mamdani's leading the way, inch by inch. He's doing it quite carefully. It's not as though he's in the back blocks. He's in New York City, which is symbolic and major.
Right.
So let's hope.
Let's hope. So you all don't worry about May 1st, because I guess it's not a thing.
Well, I think I'm going to call it a thing because I'm an international worker. And so think of it internationally. Don't give up on it.
Okay.
International Workers' Day.
International Workers' Day. So if you can participate, and participate doesn't mean you have to do anything. Like Lena said, don't do anything.
No,
Don't
be impossible.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing. Maybe where I went wrong is waiting around for where the announcement was going to be. I mean, maybe it's a good lesson for me. We just do it on our own. Those who can do.
Yes. And who is it? I think it's Josh he's the truck driver. He has his own YouTube channel, The Enemy from Within. And he's embraced this May Day thing. And he agonized whether he would do a video on the day about it or whether he would pull out and not do. And he came to that conclusion, and he's told everyone he's not going to do a video on that day, whatever. Bless Josh. But my point is, he thought about it, and there's no right or wrong thing. Just think about it and go, well, I did hear 20 people are going to go down my main street that day, so
let it be 21. So I'm going to go. Right. No, you know what? That reminds me. I know we're late on time, but it's the Substack issue. So I write on Substack. I've been there for a few years. I have a few thousand people who read what I write, and then we find out that Andrew Tate has been on there since 2024, and he's #1 in politics. So you say to yourself, wait, Substack solicited him, the rapist, just saying, to be on that platform because he brings millions of subscribers. So then you have to say ethically, well, wait, do I want to be on that platform? So we did a little thing where there was one day where we boycotted being, we didn't.
Oh, right.
Well, I mean, I'm sure Substack said, "Oh,
yeah, probably."
Right. But we can't think that way. The smallest actions can make the biggest difference. Mm-hmm. And I think it's where, what kind of carbon footprint do you have? Where do you spend your money? Where do you spend your time? What do you donate to? Who do you talk to at Thanksgiving? Do you subscribe to the idea that politics and religion should not be discussed? Because who thought that was a good idea?
And look at how Canada's had to adapt very quickly from its major trading partner, meaning not just words, the most came in from the US, the most went to the US. They've had to reinvent everything on the other side of this.
Which is to say
look at exactly where every dollar goes now. And that's good for Canada.
I was going to say, it can be done. And in the end, it's good for Canada. And it helps America become right-sized. And I mean, right-sized, yes, indeed, it does mean downsized, relative to the world. But why should we be bigger and badder than everybody else just because we're told that we're exceptional? How has that worked out? Not well.
And one of the things that if you ask anybody from any country, what are the top 10 things or even 5 things you know about America, and that prior to all this, they'd probably say Hollywood and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
But what would be on everyone's list would be they have the worst healthcare system. It wouldn't matter if you asked an Italian or a Samoan or anybody.
Well, you know what? You heard about that.
We all shake our heads and go, what?
Well, the DoorDash skit that went wrong. Did you hear about that?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing was, why does this old woman have to drive for DoorDash to pay for her husband's cancer? What?
And how is that supposed to be? Woo!
Exactly. Exactly. Why do
say,
people
aren't we great? We're ordering all this food so she can pay for 1 minute of her husband's treatment.
Yes.
What?
No, we're human beings. And is it not written in our documents that we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Well, okay. Well, where does that start? Like, where in the way things are going now, how do you see that?
And that's what I think. I think, 5 years ago, I was thinking, America's a million miles from universal healthcare, and it was. But I think so much has happened, and I think it's very positive.
I agree.
It can emerge in the new America.
And the thing is, physics tells us 2 things cannot take up the same space at the same time. That means stuff has to be ended, shoved to the side, seen for what it is, and left on the dust heap so that something new can take its place. So I am hopeful too. I know I don't sound like it, but I am. I'm hopeful. I'm just mad about the thing. But you're right. We can do it anyway. The May 1st. In solidarity with our brothers and sisters around the world who will be celebrating that day too. It's the Workers' Day. So let's all celebrate that.
And reclaim redneck too, because of the red scarf of the labor action.
All right. I don't want to be one of those, but I get
No, I don't think so. But if you're an Appalachian who has chosen to live the negative aspect of redneck, have a look at your history.
There you go. Absolutely.
People need history. Sorry to just dominate the space here. But you know what I mean? But history has to be taught in a way that's live, that's real stories.
But you know what? You have to
wonder. And then people are fascinated because the human brain loves stories.
I know, but you have to wonder why. I think that's why the education system is another thing that needs to be overhauled. Why are we not teaching history that way? Because we don't want people to be caught up in story, because then they think.
Exactly. And just as things were incrementally improving, look at the damage that's been done in his first administration, removing every black soldier from elite lists and every library that talked about anything. I mean, that is a scandal. Mm-hmm. That is exactly what happened in Germany, prescribing what was art, what wasn't, all of that. So it's a total refurbishment.
Right. But
so if people can identify as workers, sorry, go on.
No, you're right. If we can identify first as workers, realize that we have company all over the world who understand that concept, that in and of itself is you can enter into that collective consciousness.
Yes.
If you don't have any other, we're workers.
Exactly. On that note, Erica.
On that note, listen, you all, thank you for Erica Kirk's eyes. I have to do I got to read on her because she's, anyway, she's
got Nazi eyes. I know.
Well, I don't know, either Nazi or there's more to her than meets the eye. Let me just put it like that.
Right. But she's not getting any movement or momentum.
No,
people don't like her.
She is thinking like a stone, and I am here for her. I love that for her. Sorry, I know she's a widow, but
Oh, don't. No.
Anyway, Lena, thank you as always. You always make me feel better, and I appreciate it. And I know our audience loves these conversations that we have. I love that you're the good cop, because that's not the easiest thing for me to be always. But
no, it's great. It's great. I think we provide a balance.
Absolutely. So you can find the replay of this on Lena's channel and on my channel in a few minutes. So if there are people whom you think could benefit from listening to this, please point them in either Lena's or my direction. And we are here. You'll see us during the week doing our respective things. Lena is, of course, Lena Down Under, and I'm here. And we will be back again next week, right?
Totally.
All right. So thank you, everybody. See you next week. Take care.
Cheers.